All right, friends, welcome back. I know it's been a bit. I usually take a 3-week vacation during the summer to get away from work. I work in in Central Florida, so it's kind of chaos here. But while I was gone, something big came out, and that is the trailer for the Napoleon movie by Ridley Scott, starring Joaquin Phoenix. Now, I heard about this movie few years ago, actually. And I was kind of skeptical at first because Joaquin Phoenix is actually older than Napoleon was when Napoleon fell from power. So I was a little bit skeptical. But after seeing the trailer, which I did see the trailer, so I'm just going to be reacting to it with you guys, even though I already saw it. But I'm very excited to view it. I think this is a war movie we all have been needing because there haven't been a lot of real historical war movies. Like, yeah, there was 1917 and there was All Quiet on the Western Front, but there's nothing from that era anymore. There's nothing from the Napoleonic or, even the Victorian era of warfare anymore. So we're going to watch the trailer, and as it goes on, I'm going to stop, explain what's going on. The movie's only supposed to be like 2 hours and 50 minutes, I think, but it's going to be covering quite a long span of Napoleon's life. But let's get to it first before we say too much. All right. All right, friends. So here we go. So like I said, this is directed by Ridley Scott. It's going to be, from what I understand, this is actually supposed to kind of be completing what Stanley Kubrick tried to make. Stanley Kubrick, way back, like one of his first film projects, he actually tried to make a movie about Napoleon. Clearly it wasn't as successful because it never got made, but if you ever see like the video of the black and white Napoleon movie, I believe that is Stanley Kubrick's cuts. Like, that's what he originally was starting to make. But already, this is just the opening of the trailer. We see Joaquin Phoenix as Napoleon Bonaparte. This is going to be when he was in charge of the army of the it's the army of Italy, but it became the army of the interior. Pretty much, he went to Egypt to get glory, but also he went to Egypt because the Directoire, which was the government of France at the time, kind of didn't want to have to deal with him anymore because they were afraid of a pretty much a Caesar-like figure rising out of Napoleon, which I think they were justified. But let's begin watching it.
How dangerous in the chaos of the streets. We must make an example, or France will fall.
What would you do if this assignment of defense was transferred to you?
I promise you to have successes.
All right, so already we're starting the later years of the French Revolution. So I've seen a few other channels comment on who they think that woman is. Some people think it's Marie Antoinette. Other people are saying it's just a random aristocratic woman that Napoleon happened to be there to watch her execution. It's really not clear, but Napoleon actually was almost guillotined during the French Revolution himself. It was all political, pretty much. He was from Corsica, which was, up until a year before he was born, province of the Republic of Genoa, an Italian state. Napoleon was actually as French as Marie Antoinette was. He wasn't French, he was Italian. His first language was Corsican, or I guess Italian, and then his second language was French. His name is actually Bonaparte, which is, he changed during the French Revolution to sound more French. But he was a big believer in the French Revolution because the way France worked was it was an aristocratic system. So what that meant was you didn't get commission off merit, you got commission off who you knew. So when he saw the revolution, he was all on board to it. He rose from a second lieutenant in the time of the revolution to a brigadier general. After he was sent to the siege of Toulon, where he stopped the Royalist uprising and also the British attack on Toulon, where they tried to get a foothold to start an invasion and supply the Royalists. He was actually arrested by the Jacobin, the Committee of Safety, Robespierre and all them, because they saw him as a threat, I guess, is the best way to describe it. He, of course, would be acquitted. You know, he did nothing wrong. He did what he was told. He pushed the British out of Toulon. But he would go on to not have a commission throughout the rest of the Reign of Terror. He would regain his commission actually here, where we saw with the cannons and the civilians. That's a Royalist uprising. I think it's called the, I forgot what it was, the exact name. Sorry, I'm doing this late at night. I just want to make sure I get a video out. But he wiped them out with, as he said, a whiff of grape shot. He was in charge of the men protecting the National Assembly, which was, for those of you in the United States, that's like Congress or the House of Representatives. For those of you in other countries, that's your parliament. That was their like legislative house, and the Royalists were coming to take it. But so Napoleon came with his soldiers, and he opened up on the crowds with grape shot from the cannons, and he put down the uprising. And for that, he was awarded and made the commander. My apologies. And made the commander of the Army of Italy. And it's from the Army of Italy he would gain great renown during the Italian campaign, where he would pretty much knock Austria out of, I believe, the War of the First or Second Coalition. But then this is when he would be sent to Egypt, which is what we're seeing here. I'm not exactly sure where this is supposed to be. This might be Alexandria or Cairo. I don't think it's Accra, because he didn't win at Accra, which is a little more north, a little more towards Jerusalem and Israel. But yeah, let's keep it going.
What is this costume and all?
This is my uniform. I led the French victory in Toulon.
Okay, real quick. So this woman that he's talking to is Josephine de Beauharnais. I see a lot of historians, which I'm not going to name them because I'm not throwing shade at them, but a lot of them are questioning why her hair is so short. Josephine was actually married to the Duc de Beauharnais, who was an aristocrat, and he actually was a leader during the early years of the French Revolution. A lot of people forget the French Revolution actually started with clergy and aristocrats backing it. The Marquis de Lafayette is a perfect example. But the Duc de Beauharnais, he was found guilty of treason, you know, against the Republic, yada yada, the whole Robespierre Act, and he was guillotined. And Josephine was actually going to be guillotined because she was his wife. My apologies, because she was his wife. And last minute, she was rescued from it, but a common practice towards the end of the Reign of Terror was to cut the hair of the women, because it would make it easier for the blade, because the blade would be getting dull enough just from blood. So that's why she has that short hair. So I just want to get that point of contention. But here now we're seeing the whole Siege of Toulon. Just a little criticism here. I don't think it would have looked exactly like this. It was kind of more like Yorktown in a way, from what I've understood. It was Napoleon kept moving up redoubts, up. And finally just he got a redoubt close enough that he started bombarding the British fleet. But even still, the costumes are on point. This is what the French Revolutionary Army would have looked like. And that is exactly what he did. He pushed the British fleet out of Toulon.
What is your name?
Napoleon.
The course of my life has changed. Napoleon.
I'm destined for greatness. For those in power only see me as a sword.
I suggest you take the throne
As a king. Shall we vote?
All right, now this is a very famous incident. So we just saw there the Battle of the Pyramids and all that stuff. Napoleon's Egyptian campaign actually ended up being a flop. He pretty much, the whole point of him going to Egypt was to cut off British Mediterranean trade. He ended up actually getting completely cut off when Horatio Nelson destroyed the French fleet at the Battle of the Nile. So what ended up happening was he snuck away back to France, but Napoleon was the best propagandist there was. He did find things while he was there. He identified the royal canals that the pharaohs had. He found the Rosetta Stone. He found all these amazing things, and before his fleet was destroyed, packed them onto ships and brought them to France. So he commissioned paintings, he commissioned newspapers. He was able to make himself out to be the hero of what was so clearly a defeat. Right here we're seeing the 18th of Thermidor. So what this is two members of the legislature approached Napoleon and another man by the name of Maurice de Talleyrand de Perigord. That was actually the man who just before said, "You can be king." Talleyrand was actually a clergyman during the French Revolution. Then he became the ambassador for the Directoire, which is kind of ironic because the XYZ affair, if for those of you in the United States that know about the whole, they were charging us to talk to them. Talleyrand was actually the ambassador at the time, and Talleyrand would go on to be Napoleon's ambassador, chief ambassador as well. So then when the Louisiana Purchase happened, it was actually under Talleyrand as well. So I think that's always a very funny thing. But what's happening here is a coup d'etat that Napoleon and two other members of the government had, that they brought the entire French government outside of Paris and surrounded them with Napoleon's army. Now, here it makes it kind of look worse. Well, it was bad regardless. It was a coup. But Napoleon originally actually didn't come in here guns blazing. He actually went in to try to calm the tension because he didn't want it to be a violent revolution. He was like, can we all just please sit and talk? Please sit and talk. And someone actually tried to stab him. Now, it's unsubstantiated if that really happened or not, but it's strongly believed that a member of the assembly tried to stab him. And then what happened was his brother, Lucien, was able to get the assembly under control because Lucien was the president of the lower house. But Lucien came out and he rallied the conspirators, and he told the soldiers, he's like, there are violent men in there who even try to murder your general. Now, Napoleon was beloved by his army, so his soldiers were immediately going to his defense. And here you see the reason he's out of breath is because he literally was in this room 5 seconds before they tried to kill him. And he came back with soldiers and he forced the vote. And that's what made the consulship of the Republic, which a few months later would become pretty much a premiership when Napoleon would be declared consul for life.
This man has held the world hostage. His egotism and his lack of simple good manners.
You think we're great? People are just a tiny little brute. There is nothing without me.
That's a perfect spot to stop for there. So, Josephine and Napoleon had a very complicated relationship. Josephine originally kind of married Napoleon because she was a widow with 2 children. Her son, actually, Eugene de Beauharnais, he became the viceroy of Italy under Napoleon because he was a competent man. Napoleon was very good at seeing the potential in people. His marshals are, to this day, and I love that they showed that coronation scene, because if you notice, the only people in like Romanesque clothes are Napoleon and Josephine, because he liked the idea of a republic, an imperial republic. He liked the idea that everyone was still equal. So you have the marshals behind him. There's never been an actual showing of Napoleon's coronation. There is a Napoleon series starring Christian Clavier, Gerard Depardieu, Isabella Rossellini, and John Malkovich. It's a great series, but it doesn't show us the coronation to this level. We don't see like all the marshals. We don't see the nobles, all that stuff. So already, but also we're seeing clips here. We see the English. I feel like that's probably Wellington. I'm hoping it's not, because that guy's kind of old to be Wellington. But we're seeing the squares with the British, and that doesn't look like Spain. So that's looking like Waterloo. So already this movie starts in the French Revolution, and we know at least it's going to Waterloo, especially if you look at his uniform here, the green. This is much more Empire, when he was the emperor. The red uniform that you saw him wearing in some of those clips, when he was making fun of Napoleon, those are actually consul. What he wore as the first consul, but because red is Republican color. Wait, we gotta go back to that. We need to just get a look. Oh my gosh, look at that. Not a single issue with any of these uniforms. This is exactly how this court would have looked like. Napoleon did not pleasure himself with the decadence of other nobility. Napoleon liked being surrounded by soldiers. Napoleon 90% of the time slept in his field cot because he found it more comfortable than his cot at the palaces. It's also I think he actually died in his field cot. I think that's when he passed away on St. Helena on. But the martial uniforms are perfect. My favorite part is you see they're not all uniformed. All the marshals wore their uniforms in different ways. I'm trying to identify what marshals we have here. I can't even tell. But you even have these aides-de-camps. They're the ones wearing the light blue uniforms. You have, I'm guessing some of these guys belong to the Polish Legion with the pink in their uniforms. And then this gentleman in the back, which is kind of interesting, that looks like Thomas Dumas, who was Alexander Dumas, the writer's father. Thomas Dumas was actually from Haiti, Saint Dominique at the time. He moved to France right before the revolution, and he rose up through the ranks, and he served in Napoleon's army as his cavalry commander. He got imprisoned after Egypt, but I don't know a lot about Dumas, but Dumas actually had a beautiful monument in Paris, but in 1940, when the Germans took France, they blew it up for some reason, which you can't, whatever. But it's very interesting, especially because you see some of them have the tricolor sashes that identifies like what eras they're from or where they start the military, and you have Napoleon, of course, in the middle, directing everything. My only criticism of this, to be honest, is the fact that I don't know if Napoleon would necessarily have a map on the floor like this. He'd definitely much rather have a table, because then you don't have to bend over as much. It makes it a little easier. But it's gorgeous. Gorgeous.
What's the outcome if they say he does succeed?
Your Majesty, we are discovered.
Good. I'm first to remember and make this. I simply never do.
Alrighty. Wait, I think there's more. No, that's it. Yeah, so this actually comes out the day before my birthday, so I'm very excited about that. So what we just saw there was Austerlitz. Now, as historians, Austerlitz is Napoleon's masterpiece. That was his crowning achievement, Austerlitz. He was able to trick the Russians. He was able to divvy his way around, and the scene with the lake is true. He did that. I'm not sure if they actually had infantry, though. I'm pretty sure it was all cavalry, because it was a cavalry charge towards his artillery, and they didn't figure out literally until the last moment when the artillery let loose. But like I was saying before, though, because I got a little mistracked talking about Josephine. Josephine and Napoleon had a very complicated relationship. At the beginning, Napoleon was head over heels for her, but she really wasn't for him. Napoleon was also almost 20 years younger than her. I love the actress playing her. She plays Princess Margaret in The Crown, but she's a little young. Josephine was an older woman. As the marriage progressed, Napoleon started having more affairs because he found out Josephine was having an affair. But as the marriage went on, Josephine started to love him more. And then, unfortunately, which I'm assuming they're going to tackle in this if we're going all the way to Waterloo, he and Josephine actually got divorced because she wasn't bearing him children because she was so old. She was possibly past menopause, or a lot of people think she just, during the birth of her, I believe, Hortense, Hortense actually, this is another fun fact, Josephine's daughter married Napoleon's brother, and they gave birth to Napoleon the Third, who would succeed their uncle. So, in a weird way, Napoleon the Third kind of was Napoleon's heir because he was a mix of his blood and Josephine's. But, yeah, so they had a very complicated relationship, and he ended up getting divorced under advice from the government because they wanted an heir, and he would divorce her, and he would marry the Austrian princess, Maria Therese. And they would have one son, Napoleon II, the King of Rome. Ironic because his stepson was the Viceroy of Rome, of Italy. But it's actually a very tragic story because he did truly love her, and she did truly love him at the end, and she would die while he was in exile on Elba. The French government actually left her alone after Napoleon was sent into exile. She was allowed to keep her estate that she had under him, but it is a very sad love story. But this movie, overall, just looks amazing. I have no words other than I cannot wait to see it. I'm so excited. Yes, I'm definitely joining in on all the Napoleon buzz right now to get views, but also Napoleon's one of the things that really got me into history. Behind me in my bookshelf, I have his autobiography, which I say a lot on this channel. I don't like using autobiographies because they always skew a little more favorably, but his autobiography is amazing. You know, you really get the sense of a man defeated because he finished it while in exile in St. Helena in the Southern Atlantic Ocean. So at that point, he knew there was no coming back. But Joaquin Phoenix, again, I was very skeptical at first. I think he looks like he's doing great. I love seeing the Grenadiers, the old guard behind him. I'm just very curious how this timeline is going to be because I saw French Revolution, Egypt, consulship, Austerlitz, Waterloo. It's very long period. It's almost like 30 years worth of time because I'm going to assume we're going to start in 1792 and then we're going to end in probably 1815 unless they decide to go all the way to his death. But tell me what you think. Tell me if you're excited for it. I really am. I'm sorry it's taken me a while. Like I said, I was on a 3-week vacation, so I've been gone for a bit. But now I'm back. We're going to start making more videos again, and we're going to have a good time enjoying history together. Thanks so much for viewing. Please like, share, and comment. If you're new to the channel, subscriptions really are appreciated, especially because with this coming out, I have a feeling a lot more historical movies are going to start coming out. So thanks again, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.